U.S. Tzu Chi volunteers hold a cash card distribution to help victims of the Clayton Fire in Northern California. And Tzu Chi volunteers in Mozambique promote the benefits of vegetarianism as well as clean up the streets. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Lee-Shioda. Thank you for joining us. Shortly after the 6.2 magnitude earthquake that rocked central Italy, 13 Tzu Chi volunteers from Germany and Italy visited 3 more hard-hit communities to get a better understanding of the full scope of the damage. In emergency tent areas, relief supplies are well stocked, so volunteers concentrate on providing spiritual support for the quake victims. Arquata del Tronto has been turned to rubble after being struck by a 6.2 magnitude earthquake, which rocked central Italy on August 24th. Originally, only 80 people lived in this small village called Pescara del Tronto. However, as it was summer and grandchildren were visiting, the population grew to 400, and among them, 49 are confirmed dead.
That area with the rescue team is where the church collapsed. The local residents here rely on agricultural products for a living, and the local agricultural company has also been completely destroyed.
Rescue workers enter a building on the verge of collapsing to search for important items on behalf of the victims. As it was still too dangerous to enter this village, only 5 volunteers were granted permission. A national television reporter followed Tzu Chi to further understand Tzu Chi's mission here.
The only way to unite religion and different nationalities is through the power of love.
The tents set up for disaster victims are limited. Many families share a tent. Upon seeing a couple they came across previously, Tzu Chi volunteers headed over to ask how they are doing. The wife replies, only those who are alive are able to receive blessings. Meanwhile, Tzu Chi volunteers praise a man for his heroic first response efforts, which helped save many of his villagers' lives. It's compassion like this that brings hope to this world. Moving to the west coast of the United States, in Northern California, the Clayton Fire destroyed over 1,500 hectares of land. After a survey of the needs of the victims, Tzu Chi worked with the local Red Cross to hold a cash card distribution for those affected in Lower Lake. Located in Northern California, Clear Lake is a popular scenic site. Lower Lake, which is 5 minutes away, has been heavily damaged by the fire, which started on August 12th.
The fire was going through here everywhere at once. Roughly 200 homes were lost, about 15 to 20 businesses on Main Street here. And it was a big fire, and it really impacted our community. And this is my hometown. I grew up here, so it was very personal for me. Any help we can get, we'll take it.
The lobby of the fire department is filled with humanitarian aid from many different places. This is also Lake County's 4th forest fire in the span of 1 year.
Since last September's wildfire, we have continued to visit Lake County.
This rubble of the Habitat for Humanity's office was where Tzu Chi volunteers held a volunteer training course back in January of this year. Seeing the damages up close, Tzu Chi volunteers visit fire victim Maria Guadalupe's trailer home.
This is her trailer right here. She does have all this land as hers, but because she owes $90,000 still on the property, she still has to keep paying on this property. That's the problem that she's having because she doesn't have any money right now. They live on paycheck to paycheck, so it's very hard. Memories of her children and the things that she raised her children and all her pictures and all her important things can't be replaced, you know.
Upon receiving Tzu Chi's financial assistance, Guadalupe lets out a smile. Offering compassionate relief, Tzu Chi sends their love to this small town. In Selangor, Malaysia, a fire recently broke out in a Muslim community, destroying a total of 4 houses. Shortly after, Tzu Chi volunteers surveyed the disaster and hosted an aid distribution at the temporary shelter. With Tzu Chi volunteers' love and care, the victims could hopefully get back on their feet soon.
After the big fire broke out, debris was left everywhere in this community. Tzu Chi volunteers are walking through the heap of ruins to survey the disaster area. The big fire in the Muslim village of Selangor, Malaysia, was caused by a short circuit and burned down 4 of homes in the community. The victims were mostly Indonesians.
What we know is that no residents in the affected households were injured or died from this disaster.
After the disaster, a total of 29 affected residents have been resettled in an auditorium. They have been put at ease as Tzu Chi volunteers care for them just like family would.
When I saw the house on the other end was on fire, I escaped right away. I was unable to carry anything with me because I was afraid of the big fire. I called my husband and those who lived with me.
Apart from delivering consolation cash and blankets, Tzu Chi volunteers also give caring hugs to the victims, letting them feel warmth of their love. With blessings and company, the affected residents will no longer feel lonely and sad. They feel more confidence to begin rebuilding their homes so they can get back on their feet as soon as possible.
In a remote region outside of Tainan City, Zhuozhen District is a community with a single elementary school. The school received much damage from the earthquake on February 6, but was only recently determined to be unsafe. Now struggling against time to prepare a safe space for students, Tzu Chi is reaching out to help provide temporary classrooms.
In Tainan, the Zhuozhen Elementary School building is over 50 years old. Old age and damage from the February 6th earthquake made 12 classrooms unsuitable for students. After it was determined the school needed to be demolished and rebuilt, the principal was worried about how students would attend class. He thought of Tzu Chi.
I went to look at Hoying Elementary School and Yujing Junior High School in the neighborhood, and I thought to myself, when did they get such nice new classrooms? There were nice wooden buildings. I asked the principal there about their new classrooms. He said these aren't regular classrooms. These are Tzu Chi's temporary classrooms.
The construction process is scheduled to last 5 days. Working on the basketball court does not afford the workers any shade. By midday, everyone is soaked in sweat, but everyone remains focused on the work.
We surveyed the terrain twice in a short time. We hope that we can quickly provide this mountain community with a place for the students to have class.
We like to tell ourselves that the faster we work building these classrooms, the sooner these children will have a safe place to study.
As they build the classrooms with the previously used materials, volunteers are making sure that everything is clean and in top shape to provide students with a safe and secure learning environment.
On August 31st, Taidong farmers and representatives from Tzu Chi University of Science and Technology held a meeting in Hualien to discuss possible solutions for the farming industry post-Typhoon Nepartak. Presenters discussed new technologies, products, and new crops that farmers may consider in the future.
The audience of Tzu Chi volunteers and local farmers in Hualien are listening intently to this presentation. This meeting on new agricultural technologies was held on August 31st at Tzu Chi University of Science and Technology.
We are really hoping to create a platform where real benefit to society can be combined with the area's agricultural industry. We don't want to simply help the region recover. We want to make an impact that will make their lives better than before.
Many of the meeting's participants are local farmers whose crops received damage during Typhoon Nepartak over the summer. One participant, whose mother is a Tzu Chi volunteer, is farmer Jiang Zhipeng from Taimali Township in Taidong, who lost half of his sugar apple orchards. Like many others, he is looking for ways to possibly make up for the lost income.
最主要是了解一下，我们这边就是说。
The most important thing is to understand what changes are there for us to make. And will these changes improve our current situation?
状况那种是不是有一个契机让我们这样子能转做？
Representatives from the university also introduced red quinoa as a potential new crop and discussed the items it can be made into. It may produce increased incomes for farmers because the entire plant can be harvested.
Through continuous exchanges, farmers can increase income from the grain they are producing, from 1 kilogram for $30 up to 1 kilogram for $300. Also, they can make profit from the roots, which were originally discarded because it wasn't profitable to sell them. Now the value of the farms overall will increase.
Tzu Chi hopes to provide creative solutions and cooperate with local farmers to help the agricultural economy in the area get back on track.
Continuing our series on the invasive species, the white popinac, many people feel there is no need to eradicate the species because it is just like any other shade-providing tree in the summer. However, when winter rolls around, the tree loses all of its leaves and provides no wind protection. Worse yet, a white popinac forest means other tree species and vegetation have been pushed out, essentially putting an entire ecosystem on the verge of collapsing.
Today, we accompany some bird watchers in search of the Penghu skylark.
大概就是像这样的比较短的草地。
It needs a habitat which has short grass, but this grass here is too long as the skylark walks along the ground.
头在那边。
In the past, one could always see the Penghu skylark wherever one looked because of their vast numbers. This led it to be voted the bird of Penghu for quite a long time and earning a nickname to reflect how common it is.
Probably you will see them from March to June. You can see them flying in the air and sometimes hear their cries while flying. Sometimes it will try to climb up higher to get a look, like standing on top of cattle dung, even singing sometimes when it is on top of this dung.
However, Penghu's grassland ecology is rapidly changing, and the habitat for these birds is slowly disappearing.
Look at the white popinac, which is growing bigger and bigger and expanding its scope. And when it takes over this grassland, this environment will no longer be here, as there will be less breeding environment for the skylark.
A herb tea is gone, and so is the wild Geogardia, and also our skylark, because our slopes are gone, because it's no longer suitable to this area.
With native skylark numbers decreasing, the public sector is feeling the loss, and researchers worry it may cause an ecological imbalance.
In fact, this is a warning about the invasion of an alien species disrupting nature and forcing native species to endure an unsuitable habitat.
This situation isn't only occurring in Penghu, as a survey 10 years ago by the Council of Agriculture found the white popinac was spread throughout Taiwan. No updated statistics are currently available. Today we enter Kending National Park, going into this reforestation area. Each side of the road are trees, but each forest is totally different. On the left, there's only one tree, the white popinac, and on the right, after a decade of reforestation, there are clearly many different species. But when we enter this area, there's little discernible difference.
This is a white popinac forest, and entering it is quite difficult. Few plants can actually compete, such as the common jasmine orange, the Chinese cheese tree, and the Bridilla balancea.
Hanging overhead, the white popinac almost completely obscures the sun. These very quiet woods harbor many native species that may soon disappear.
We have done a preliminary investigation and found that up to 8 plants can survive as white popinac ground cover species.
We found that in a forest occupied by the white popinac, over the long run, the soil would become dry, and there are some toxins that make it hard for other plants to enter.
But on the other side of this road, this hillside is quite different, almost like another world.
In 2006, we began reforestation, which led to about 2,000 trees and a diversity of plants. After our investigation, we found there were about 15 to 20 kinds of plants, which is about 3 times more than a white popinac forest.
There are many native species, including acacia, Indian almond, horsetail tree, and others which are needed to restore the ecology of Hengchun Peninsula.
In these woods, the environment and ecology is slowly returning.
Here you can see the bark is quite thin. Why is this? Because of deer. After we restore this forest, when the deer horns grow, they will itch and they want to rub it on something.
After 10 full years, this reforestation effort is successful in this area, as many hope that they can apply the same experience elsewhere. And though it may take another decade, restoring biodiversity is definitely important and achievable.
Tzu Chi volunteers from Mozambique collaborated with local volunteers to host a blessing ceremony. While volunteers cooked a delicious vegetarian meal for the attendees, Tzu Chis and Tzu Shaos performed a sign language song. Also, before the event began, a group of volunteers made sure the surrounding environment was clean.
Local volunteers are happily carrying cleaning tools to clean the environments of the community. Peanuts powder is added to the Chinese broccoli grown on DaAi farms and later mixed with coconut milk. This is a unique flavor in Mozambique. All of these are cooked and served up to 3,000 residents. This is the outcome of local Tzu Chi's efforts to promote vegetarianism at the events of Mozambique. As most of the households don't have refrigerators, volunteers list the fact that being a vegetarian can avoid food poisoning. Volunteers have set up an altar and lead residents to chant as well as pray for their strength and inspiration. As Tzu Chis and Tzu Shaos perform in the sign language song with the message of going meatless, they personified a variety of animals on earth to experience the beauty of harmony in the world, which also inspires their compassion to the needy. With all of this, local volunteers hope to encourage the attendees to continue embracing vegetarianism.
Tzu Chi volunteers in Indonesia are making the most of the 7th lunar month by visiting orphanages and nursing homes. They are giving blessings to both young and old during this auspicious period.
Tzu Chi volunteers in Indonesia carry large bags of gifts to visit children in this orphanage. Many are looking forward to this event as these big brothers and sisters lead everyone in song, leading to big smiles.
What they need is affection from their families, which is something that we may not be able to provide. So at least when friends visit, they can feel a little joy and happiness.
In addition to visiting this orphanage, another trip was made to an elder care center. 97-year-old Oma Cecilia is the oldest person here and is also one of the kindest, as she loves to sing songs to welcome volunteers. She says the secret to her longevity is simply gratitude.
God has given us life and arranged everything. It's best to avoid troubling others as much as we can.
Tzu Chi volunteers in Indonesia are working diligently to break the Chinese superstitions surrounding the 7th lunar month, taking this opportunity to spread blessings and joy to the less fortunate.
Tzu Chi volunteers in Jiayi, Taiwan visited different communities to hold blessing ceremonies prior to the end of the 7th lunar month. After Shi Gui Cui attended one last year, she began to use fruits as offering. This year, the new lesson she learned was that one shouldn't delay in doing good deeds.
Some walked and some arrived in a tour bus to attend the blessing ceremony for the 7th lunar month, held at the Darling Sports Park in Jiayi. This is the second year that Shi Gui Cui attended the ceremony. Last year, she heard the volunteers telling people not to use meat as offering, so she decided to use fruits instead. After her husband became sick, she realized one shouldn't delay in doing good deeds.
While we are healthy, we should create blessings, gather blessings, and do good deeds. Don't wait until we are sick because we won't have the energy to do it and will regret it.
To ask more people join the good cause, Tzu Chi volunteers go to communities to hold the blessing ceremonies. Although it means more volunteers are required to help with the ceremonies, Tzu Chi volunteers are willing to put in the time because they want more people to pray and do good deeds. In this way, society will become more peaceful.
26-year-old Xiao Wan, who suffers from mild mental disability, went for employment counseling at Kaohsiung City's Labor Affairs Bureau. Counselors then concluded she was capable of working, but had hygiene problems due to a lack of a working water heater at home. After being contacted, a local charity organization went to her house to make repairs.
26-year-old Xiaowen is quite petite, yet still needs to turn her body sideways to climb a narrow ladder up to her bedroom. Taking a look at her room, we see that it is less than 6 square meters. In anticipation of the renovation, she has already moved her clothing outside. Not only Xiaowen's room is getting a makeover, but the volunteers are also going to renovate the rear bathroom on the first floor.
There was no bathroom, so Xiaowen was quite dirty as there was no way for her to shower. We were referred to this case and found that we really need to help her. We found that not only did the bathroom need work, but the roof also leaked. The toilet was bad and the kitchen was also a mess.
This apartment is more than 20 years old. Much of the wood is rotten and the drainage is poorly designed. The water heater is also broken. This meant that Xiaowan could only take cold baths, and the bathroom had a problem associated with stagnant water, making bathing very inconvenient.
After the house is fixed, I will do my best to keep it in a good condition.
At the moment, Xiaowan is currently receiving employment counseling, and she is also looking forward to a new living environment. She hopes that these changes can help her become more self-reliant in the future, allow her to also care for her father.
It is never easy for the homeless to find work. A charity group that has been helping them for years recently handed out a job seeker's work kit to help land a job, which includes socks and a blank resume form. TIMA also donated 680 bottles of mouthwash so the homeless can have more confidence during job interviews.
Mr. Liu is organizing his comforter. This room has 4 bunk beds and seems crowded. But to Mr. Liu, who has been homeless for years, this tiny place gives him warmth.
This is my other home. If we are capable, we should go to work instead of hanging around wasting time every day.
Mr. Liu was unemployed for over a decade. A charity group offers temporary shelters to help the homeless to find long-term work. The group solicited businesses to support its employment pack. Each pack includes a towel, a raincoat, clean socks, a blank resume, and 2 bottles of mouthwash.
When they talk to people, they won't have bad smell, and it can leave a good impression and improve their chances of getting work.
It can make them feel that society loves them.
TIMA has been holding free clinics for the homeless for 6 years. This time, TIMA gives them 680 bottles of mouthwash, so they can have confidence to go to job interviews, and they can find work and start again like Mr. Liu.
Prior to the end of the 7th lunar month, volunteers from Tzu Chi Hamilton Liaison Office in New Zealand held a blessing ceremony and took the opportunity to share the benefits vegetarianism has on one's health. We will leave you with these images. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.